All right, today we're diving into a philosophy that might just change the way you think about getting dressed. We're going to look at clothing not just as something we wear, but as a real reflection of our deepest values. I mean, think about it. You get up every morning, you put on clothes, it's almost automatic, right? But what if there's a lot more going on? This explainer is all about a perspective that asks a really big question. What is our clothing really for, beyond just, covering up? So, on the one hand, you've got the common view. Clothes protect us, they're a way to express our personality, makes total sense. But this philosophy we're looking at today adds this whole other layer. It suggests that our clothes can be a form of spiritual protection, and maybe even more importantly, a mirror that reflects our inner character. So you might be wondering, how can a bunch of fabric and thread carry that much meaning? Well, let's unpack this idea that our outfits are way more than just clothes.
The core idea here is that choosing to cover up isn't just some random custom. It's viewed as a very deliberate act. It's a way of honoring ourselves, of gently guiding the world's focus, and even our own focus, away from just our appearance and toward what's really going on inside.
But to really get to the heart of this, we've got to go back to the source. We need to look at the origin of the word modesty itself, because it turns out its entire meaning is wrapped up in one single, really powerful concept: measure. And here it is. This is the key. Modesty comes from the Latin word modus, which literally means measure. And suddenly that changes everything, doesn't it? It stops being about hiding or restriction, and it becomes about balance, about proportion, about finding the right measure in how we present ourselves to the world. Which brings us to this. At its core, modesty is an attitude. It's about humility and decency. So you can see it's not just a dress code. It's a whole mindset that ends up shaping everything, not just how we dress, but how we speak and how we act. Okay, so that's the principle of measure. But what does that actually look like day to day? Well, it's broken down into three pretty clear areas. It's really presented as this complete holistic path. It starts with the most obvious thing, the clothes we choose. Then it moves to our general grooming and appearance. And finally, it goes to the deepest level, our actual behavior and the words we use. Each one kind of builds on the one before it. First up, our clothes. The goal here is to aim for a kind of dignity that doesn't just change with every new fashion trend. And yeah, that might mean covering shoulders or avoiding certain styles, but the philosophy totally reframes this. It's not about hiding the body, it's about honoring it. It's a quiet way of saying, hey, my real worth comes from my character. Next up is our overall appearance. And this isn't about being plain or boring. Actually, it's about being neat, clean, and well-groomed as a form of self-respect. The main idea is just to avoid extremes that are designed to grab a ton of attention so you can keep the focus on who you are, not just what you look like. And finally, we get to the part that goes way beyond anything visual. It's about our conduct. This means being mindful of the words we choose, being respectful in how we act. The ultimate goal here is integrity, A life where the person you are on the outside is a perfect match for your deepest beliefs on the inside. So, you put all this together. Where does it lead? What's the end game of this whole path of measure and humility? And I think this is fascinating. It's framed as an act of defiance, a conscious choice to find your identity in something, more permanent and meaningful. It's basically choosing to say that your self-worth isn't going to be tied to fleeting trends or what other people think. So in a world that can feel pretty obsessed with how we look, this path is presented as a kind of liberation. It's freedom from that constant pressure to measure up to standards that are always changing anyway. So the goal, surprisingly, isn't to become invisible at all. It's actually the opposite. The goal is to stand out, but for a totally different reason. Not for what you're showing on the outside, but for the dignity and the character that just shines from within. And that leaves us with this one last question to kind of chew on in our own lives. What if our greatest statement isn't what we show, but who we are? Thanks for joining me.